140. A leper came to him, and kneeling down, begged him, and said, "If you wish, you can make me clean." This week, the word leper jumped out to our Bible study group this Wednesday. That got me thinking about lepers in the Bible. Leprosy, or Hansen's disease, is still with us today. If left untreated, it can cause disfigurement and damage to the skin, nerves, eyes, and lungs. Those who suffer from Hansen disease have unsightly lessons on their body. From what I've read, leprosy is spread by respiratory droplets. Unlike COVID-19, it takes close, prolonged contact over months for Hansen's disease to spread. Those who suffer from leprosy today still face discrimination and stigmatization in some parts of the world. The good news is that Hansen's disease is now curable. If it's caught early, the damage can be minimized and the disfigurement avoided. In the times of Jesus, lepers were forced into ghettos and colonies. Lepers were required to announce themselves, declaring that they were unclean. They were made to be social outcasts for the greater good. Their affliction was a sign that they were being punished by God. That's how most of the Jewish people during Jesus' time understood leprosy. Some cool Syracuse, New York history is that one of the founders of a local hospital here, St. Joseph's Hospital, is a Catholic saint. Her name is Saint Mary Ann Cope. She was born in Germany, but was raised in Utica, New York. Her skills in hospital administration became so renowned that she was asked to come to Hawaii to help their local government to deal with the leprosy crisis in the 1800s. When St. Mary Ann Cope arrived with her entourage, she found the lepers living in horrific conditions. I learned that Hawaii actually used to be called the Sandwich Islands. St. Mary Ann Cope discovered the lepers in Hawaii, the Sandwich Islands, that they were living in subhuman conditions. Many of them were badly disfigured. St. Mary Ann Cope offered dignity to these lepers, to a group of people that society had cast out. The lepers were cast out because of fear and junk primitive science. What I hear the leper saying in the verse I selected is, "I want to be welcomed back into the community." Jesus gladly grants him that gift. Jesus took a person who was unclean and made them clean. That is what Jesus was always doing, low key. He was always widening the embrace of his Father. It is the Spirit of God at work. The underground church is a church for those who have been cast out. It's a church for those who have been mistreated or bullied or canceled. The Greek word for church is ecclesia, meaning those who have been called, especially out of the world. We are a church, an ecclesia, a people who are being called out of the world to unite ourselves with Christ crucified and offer relief to those we find suffering. In suffering, the crucified Jesus can be found in a special way. Jesus healed the leper. He healed people. He wanted the people he interacted with to get better and thrive. He wanted those who had been discriminated against to no longer have to announce to the world that they were unclean. Jesus washed away our shame, our sins, and our iniquities on Good Friday. He made up for whatever shortcomings that we have on the cross. We have now what theologians call an infinite superabundance of grace, always accessible to us because of the death of Jesus on the cross and the Paschal mystery. It is my belief that the underground church has a special charism to welcome the LGBTQ plus community. I see parallels in our community to the experiences of the lepers. We have been cast out at times. We frequently experience discrimination and are stigmatized. During the AIDS crisis, this gay cancer scare forced gay men, especially, into enclosed health ghettos where they quarantined, just like the lepers. There is institutionalized homophobia woven into the very fabric of society. Some people aren't even aware that it's there, even though that it's hiding in plain sight. Institutionalized homophobia. I have a story about another Franciscan religious. He lived in Syracuse and grew up in the area, just like St. Marianne Cope. They may have briefly been contemporaries, but I doubt this Franciscan religious will be remembered and celebrated as a saint. His name was Father Jeffrey Keefe, PhD, and he was based out of Assumption Church on North Salina Street in Syracuse. And I know him because I am his former patient. I am a survivor. His victims must still be spread all over the Syracuse area. Father Keefe used to meet with men who wanted to live chaste and celibate lives. He ran a local chapter of a group called Courage. These known homosexuals were barred from the church from being Catholic priests, even though, to my knowledge, none of them ever displayed deviant sexual behavior. What is most horrific about Father Keefe's ministry was that he, as a board-certified psychologist, was offering so-called reparative therapy. He said that he could reduce same-sex attraction in men, but couldn't eliminate it. He was a founder of what was called the National Association of Research and Therapy of Homosexuality. Father Keefe spoke at conferences. I was told by a Catholic priest when I was a senior in high school that I should see Father Keefe. This priest was also one of Father Keefe's victims. I saw Father Keefe for 1 year. Nothing happened to me, except for I experienced an increase in my anxiety, depression, and it made me hate myself. Eventually, I came to my senses and I quit seeing him, and I felt so much better away from conversion therapy. There is so much fear around Hansen's disease in the time of Jesus. Coming in contact with a leper once was not going to spread the disease. But since the ancient world hadn't discovered much of the modern miracles of medicine, there was no way the ancient world could have known how the virus was spread. They casted the lepers out of their community out of fear, out of primitive science. Fear is at the root of homophobia too. People are afraid of what is different or foreign to their experience. Humans have this tendency to close ranks when there is a crisis and expel some scapegoats. Those scapegoats, after all, were to blame for the societal difficulty, weren't they? I hope that the underground church can undo some of the harm that my dear friend, Father Jeffrey Keefe, caused. I would consider it an honor. There are many social outcasts asking to be treated as human, to not be discriminated against, who just want to live quiet lives like everyone else. Every human person has dignity and has a right to happiness. I will take inspiration from St. Marianne Cope and offer dignity to a group of people that have been cast out and psychologically disfigured by oppression and fear and primitive science. The LGBTQ plus community wants to be made clean, and that we want to be part of the wider community without oppression. We want to be able to be ourselves at work. We want to be able to share about our romantic partners when straight people are telling us about theirs. Jesus gladly offers us this welcome, personally. He can make us clean. He is the one behind all of this madness that is starting the underground church. We will be a church for the rejects, for the outcast, for the traumatized. Through our community, people will be made clean and that they can experience the radical welcome of Jesus Christ, the Son of God, the Master Healer, and the Restorer of community to those on the margins. Mark 1:40. A leper came to him, and kneeling down, begged him and said, "If you wish, you can make me clean."